I went to see my mum yesterday, who remarkably is still alive. She's nearly 96, and she's in an old folks home. She's been predicted to die for ages, you know. She's been out of hospital, and as I say, she's been in this. Well, it's a care home now for just over a year, and this will probably be her last Christmas realistically, and that won't be a bad thing because there's very little left there, you know. That's from that. Well, that is like a person, I suppose, really. But it's funny because I get these conflicting, not exactly conflicting feelings about it, but I get these very different experiences about her and about what it is to be a person sometimes when I go and see her. And yesterday was a real good example of that. You know, because in many ways she's been quite fortunate, my mum. I mean, she's had a lot of illness and grief and stuff in her life, but in terms of the way she's choosing to exit it, or the way that fate is allowing her to exit it, is in some ways quite good, really. You know, she's lost most of her mental faculties. She kind of remembers who I am and my sister is most of the time, but not always by any means. But most of the memories have gone. You know, she can't remember her husband. She can't remember what she did for a living. She was a nurse her whole life, and that was like a central part of her life. She can't remember any of that. She can't remember anything that happens. And she can't sustain a line of thought for more than about 10 seconds. You know, if she begins a sentence, she quite often can't end it. And most of those sentences are repeats. You know, she's got a vocabulary of, I don't know, 8 or 9 sentences and questions. So there's a lot of stuff missing, you know, but a lot of the stuff but as I say, a lot of that's dropped off, you know. A lot of her capacity to do various things and think various things has dropped off. But what's been left, this is why I think it's quite fortunate, what's been left isn't things like fear or pain. You know, she doesn't appear to be in any pain, and she's not one of these people who's in constant fear. You know, she's, as I say, she's in a care home, and one or two of the people there are, you know, there's one woman who you can't really come out of her room because if anybody approaches her, she just starts screaming. So, you know, Elsie's quite fortunate in that regard. And another woman there takes her clothes off all the time, and Elsie's not doing that. I don't know if that's, yeah, that's probably not unpleasant for her actually, but it's a bit weird for people around her. And another woman there who's kind of angry a lot of the time and keeps accusing people of stealing things, or of, you know, different kind of infractions. And I say Elsie's not doing that, so whatever's being left is relatively benign. But alongside that kind of psychological thing that's happening to her, which is this winnowing away of and loss of function, what's also happening is a physical thing that's happening to her. And, you know, her body is basically completely fucked. You know, she's like a little bird. You know, she's tiny, and she's really, really bent over, and all her bones stick out, you know, and her flesh just hangs off her really. And it's a fascinating. It's like a little, you know, it's like a bird that's been run over or something like that on the road, and its bones are all twisted. She just looks like that, and all her internals aren't working properly, you know. So she's really struggling in some ways to keep for the body to keep going, and it won't keep going much longer, I'm sure. And yesterday was an example of that, which is that, you know, when just after I got there, me and my sister went yesterday, and just after we got there, she had to go to the bathroom, and usually she gets a bit of help from either my sister or from one of the carers there. I've managed to not have to get involved in this yet. And to go to the bathroom is always a really messy business, and yesterday was like that. You know, basically she has to manually evacuate or be manually evacuated, which is messy. And because she's not really compos mentis, she doesn't really know what she's doing. So quite often she'll come out kind of messed up quite a bit. And yesterday she did, you know, she had like shit all over her hands and parts of her clothing. And she was quite bright about it, you know, but it's difficult, I think, all that. And it's not even like baby shit, you know, because if you've brought up babies, you'll know that baby shit, young baby shit, is actually quite sweet smelling, and it's not terribly offensive. But old people's shit is like the smell of death, you know, and of failing systems. So there's this. So it was really kind of just brought it home to you about how this is a biological system that's in its last stages, really. So yeah, I know she had to get her cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. But she still, to be frank, she still smelt quite a bit. We managed to take her out, but she still smelt of very old shit for a large part of the time. As I say, there was two things going on for me on that, because you know I sat her down in this cafe that me and my sister take her to, where they're really nice to her, and she just kind of sits there in this vaguely smelly state, trying to get a jacket potato down her, and but you look into her eyes, you know, when you look into her eyes, it's like um, there's something, you know, she's still there, you know what I mean? She's still, yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? The stuff I said before about the stuff that's been withered away, all the memory's gone, and there's something very. This is going to sound so spiritual and religious, and I really don't mean it that way. But you look in her eyes, and she's just looking out. She's got these wide blue eyes, you know, and she's looking out like a little child looking out through these eyes, you know, and you just think, yes, there's a person in there that's just been, you know, all the crap of the world has just been stripped off, all the stupid stuff to do with individual history, all the stuff that makes us different, all the stuff, all the likes and dislikes and all that crap has gone, you know, all the memories have gone and all that kind of stuff's gone. But there's something essential in there which is really beautiful and gorgeous, you know, and she does look really beautiful when I look into her eyes like that. And when I get that sense from her, I think, well, this is the reality of this situation. This is what the reality really is. You know, it's looking into an old person's eyes and seeing them relieved of the burdens of the psychological trappings that the world has brought about it, and you're kind of looking into a purity of being. And as I say, I'm quite fortunate because she's been left benign, not been left angry or in pain or fearful or something, or whatever. So I think that, and then other times as I say, you know, maybe a waft of shit smell will come over the side of the table, and I think, no, that's not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is this is a biological system in decay, and all this essence, purity of being stuff is just bullshit. So I don't know, I just really vacillate between those two positions. You know, what's the reality of this situation? I'm not saying there's an it's both, isn't it? Because it's just me interpreting stuff, I know that. So, yeah, I'm down by the river here in Truro. Look, I'll just leave you with the Dappling Brook. Am I leaving you with the Dappling Brook? I don't know what I'm leaving you with.